So we're starting a new unit on statistics today, and we're talking about the main measures of central tendency, is where we're going to start. So you've got like this little graphic organizer to help you get some of that vocabulary, because I know it's been a while since we talked about some of that stuff. So you've got like your word bank up here, and then we're supposed to fill it in down here. I know it's kind of hard to see some of this stuff because of the way it's printed, so we'll just do the best that we can. What is mean? That's this first box. It's like when you add them all up and divide by how many you have, right? So look at our word bank. What would best fit that? Average. So we're going to put that there. So again, that's your mean. I'm going to go over it so hopefully we can see it a little bit better. I don't know if that helps. Alright, the one below it, the name is like blank, so we don't know what this is, but it says it's the data item that occurs most often. What is that? The one that occurs most often. The mode, yeah. So M-O-D-E. So again, that's the one that occurs most often. I know it's really hard to read right there. Then for the last one here, it says median. Which one's that? The middle. So that's your definition right here. The middle of a set of ordered data. So your measures of central tendency are just mean, median, and mode. Off to the side over here, we've got our measure of dispersion, which is just like how dispersed your data is or whatever. So the name of it's missing, but it says it's the difference between the greatest and the least values. That's your range, yeah? Which is that one there. So your range, you're just going to do your biggest minus your smallest. And then the last one we have is an outlier, so we can see the definition that has to go there. But have we heard of that word before? An outlier? What does it sound like that might mean? It's like way off. It's different from everything else. So the definition they give you for that is a data value that's much greater or much less than the other values in your data set. So I just kind of think of it as something that's really different. An outlier is going to be really different from all the rest of the stuff that you have. So we'll copy that definition they gave us. So we're going to go through and find all of those things for this set of data right here. Y'all ready to try that? So the first one is our mean. We said that was like your average, and how do you find that? You got it. So we're going to add up all these numbers and divide by how many numbers we have. So you can use your calculator for this. I think that would be helpful. We got 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what are we dividing by? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Divide by 7. And we get 8. Is that okay? Yeah. Are they alright with that? Questions? Alright, the median. How do you find that? So in order from least to greatest, are we already in that order? And then you just mark out till you get to the middle, right? So this 4 and 22 would go together, 4 and 8 would go together, 4 and 7 goes together. What's in the middle? 7. What happens if you have 2 numbers left in the middle? You add them, and then what? Divide by 2. Yeah, you're exactly right. So you're just kind of splitting those 2 in the middle. Then the next one is mode. What did we say that mode was? I think like mode most often. I don't know if that's helpful, but the one that happens most often. And what number was that? 4. Then we've got an outlier over here. So we said that outlier is going to be really different from the rest. Do you see a number that's really different from the rest of the data? So you can see 7 is going to be our outlier. And the last thing we need to find is our range. How did we say we find that? Your biggest minus your smallest. So 22 minus 4, what do you get? 18. Is that okay? Questions? Wonderful. That's all stuff that we've done before for the most part, right? Yeah? Okay. So moving on to the notes for today. We're going to use those and then a little bit more. So for the first part up here, we've got some vocabulary we need to talk about. So we're talking about quartiles today. So what does that sound like? Somebody said it sounds like what? Quarters, right? And what are quarters? That means you split it into how many? 4, right? Because like in football, you have 4 quarters, right? So that's 4. So if you've got quartiles, that means you're splitting your data into how many pieces, you think? 4, right? So it's going to be the points that divide your data set into 4 equally sized parts. So like we've got this data set here and it's split into 4 equally sized parts. So your lower quartile, we call that Q1, is going to be the median of your first set of equally sized parts. And your upper quartile, Q3, is going to be the median of the second set. What's the second set? I lied. Third set. The third set. Because you've got Q1 is going to go in here. Q3 would be up here. And then the middle, what do we call the middle? Do you remember? The middle of your data? Your median. So it's still just going to be the median there. So you've got your Q1, your lower quartile, which is the median of the first set of your data. And then you've got Q3, which is the median of the third set, or do you want to say second set? We'll put third set there because that's going to make a little bit more sense. And then your interquartile range is the difference between your upper quartile, so your Q3, and your lower quartile. So a lot of times I'm going to ask you to find your IQR. So if I'm like, how do you find IQR? You're going to do Q3 minus Q1. That's all that's saying. Yeah. So that might sound a little like confusing right now, but basically all you're doing is finding your median 3 times. That's about it. So y'all ready to go ahead and try one? Okay, cool. So, for the first example we've got there, you've got your big old data set, and it says step 1, you've got to put your data in order from least to greatest, because to find your median, it has to be in order from least to greatest, right? So we're going to do that. We need to put all these numbers in order from least to greatest. Now, I always struggle with this, so I have to mark it out as I go, and if I try to talk too much while I do it, I'll get screwed up. So are y'all okay to just go ahead and like do that on your own, and then we'll come together when we get that all done? Okay. So once we've got our numbers in order from least to greatest, step 2 tells us to find the median. So how are you going to do that? Mark them out until we get to the middle. So I'm not going to actually mark them out, but just use my fingers. So these are going to go, these go, these go, these go, these go together, these go together, these go together. What's our middle? 64. Is that okay? Yeah. Alright, so the step 3 to find your lower quartile, we're only going to be looking at the lower half of your data, and we're going to find that median again. So you won't use the median that we have here. We'll just start with the number below it and mark out from there. Does that make sense? So these two mark out, these two mark out, these two mark out. What's in the middle? 62, so that's your Q1. So that's our lower quartile. So again, you're just finding the median of the lower half of your data. And for step 4, if we want to find Q3, we're going to find the median of the upper half of our data. So again, you're not going to use the original median that we found. You'll start with the one above it. So those two mark out, these two mark out, these two mark out. What's left in the middle? 67. So that's going to be our Q3. And the last thing that it wants us to do there is to find your IQR, your interquartile range. So up top we said you do that by doing Q3 minus Q1. And again, it tells you that right here. So we'll do Q3 minus Q1. I'm going to write that IQR equals Q3 minus Q1. So what was our Q3 value? 67. What was our Q1 value? So what is 67 minus 62? 5. So your IQR is 5. Is that okay? Questions? Alrighty. So that's about all there is to it today, y'all. So if we're good with that, then y'all are in good shape. So we're going to go ahead and practice some. So looking at number 1 down there, we want to find the range, the median, Q1, Q3, and IQR. So range is easy to find because you've just got to do your biggest minus your smallest. You want to go ahead and do that first? So how are we going to find range again? Biggest minus smallest. What's our biggest number? 24. What's our smallest number? 5. You don't have to put them in order to find your range yet. We're going to do that, but not yet. So if we're just finding range, we'll do 24 minus 5, and what do you get? So your range is 19. Now to find the rest, we need our median, Q1, Q3, and IQR. So to find any of that stuff, we've got to put it in order from least to greatest first. Yeah? So let's go ahead and get started on that. So I'm going to let you do that on your own again because I'll screw up if I talk while I try to do it. So once we've got them in order from least to greatest, how are we going to find our median? Mark out until you get to the middle. Yeah? So 5 and 24 will go together. Those two go together. Those go together. Those go together. Those go together. What's in the middle? 12. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that on here as our median. How do you find Q1? Start below your median, and then just find the median of that half of data. So these will go together, these will go together. What's in the middle? 7. How do you find Q3? Start above it. Do your median again. Q3 going to be 20. The last thing we need to find is IQR. How do you do that? Q3 minus Q1, so we're doing 20 minus 7. And what is that? 13. Is that okay? Questions on anything so far? Alright. We're going to do the exact same thing with number 2 there. Do we need to do it together? No, you already trying it. Let's see what else there is. Alright, go ahead and try that one on your own. Actually, just kidding, don't do this one on your own, how odd. To find your range, what are we going to do? Biggest minus smallest. So what is our biggest number that we have there? 96. Yep, and what's the smallest that we have? Minus 68. Yep. So what is 96 minus 68? 28. Is that alright? Okay. So to find our median Q1, Q3, and IQR, we've got to put it in order from least to greatest first, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So once we've got it in order from least to greatest, we need to find like our median, to find Q1, Q3, and IQR. So to find your median, what are you going to do? Mark it out so we get in the middle. So these two go together, these two go together. What happens? We've got 2. So how do you find that? How do you find the median when there's 2 left? Add them, divide by 2. So 82 plus 85 divided by 2. What do we get? How so get it as a decimal? Control enter. What do you got? 82 plus 85 divided by 2. Control enter. 82 plus 85.
I got 41.
82 plus 85 divided by 2, control enter. Should be 83.5. Y'all, if your answer does not fall in between the two numbers that you were adding together to start with, you've done something wrong. Does that make sense? It's supposed to be in the middle. You divided twice. Look back and divided twice. Should be 83.5. So again, if you're trying to find the median and you add together, divide by 2, you get a number that is not in between the two numbers that you started with, you're wrong. Does that make sense? I mean, you're trying to find the median. It's got to be in between those two. So if it's not, then you need to go back and check your work. So that's going to be our median at 83.5. How are we going to find Q1? We don't use the median because there's like nothing there, right? But we'll start with that one right below it. Yeah? So we'll mark out these two, mark out those two, mark out those two. What happens? We're in the middle again, so you got to split 78 and 80. What's in between 78 and 80? 79. So that one's going to be 79. You don't even need to use your calculator for that. Okay. And then to find Q3, what are we going to do? Same thing on the upper half. So again, you're not using the median that we found, but you are going to use the number next to it. So that 85 and 96 are going to mark out 86, 95, 86, 91. And then we're between 87 and 90. So what are you going to have to do? Add together. Divide by 2. So 87 plus 90. Divide by 2. Control enter. And does that fall between 87 and 90? You're dividing twice. So when you do it, you're doing 87 plus 90, right? And then you're saying divide by 2. And then you said control enter. And what happens? It divides twice. But you hit enter in between dividing by 2 and the control enter. Just hit control enter instead of enter the first time. It's at 88.5 there. If it's easier, you could just do, how did we do it? We had 87 plus 90 divided by 2. Put a decimal behind the 2, and that'll go ahead and make it a decimal for you. You don't have to worry about the whole control enter and it dividing more than once, because that seems to be a struggle for us. So just put a decimal behind the 2. Is that okay? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah.
Last thing we need to find there is your IQR. How are you going to do that? Q3 minus Q1. So 88.5 minus 79. What do we get? Is that okay? Questions? All right. So we're gonna do I'll let you do 3, 4, and 5 on your own in a minute. I want us to go ahead and talk about the other ones right now. Is that okay? So we're gonna look at number 6. So it says the wrestling coach weighted his wrestlers and posted them in order on the whiteboard. The data set is listed below in order from least to greatest, so you don't have to put it in order from least to greatest. What are some observations that can be made from the data display? So what statements could you make about the data using 25%, half, or 75%? So we need to find your median, your Q1, your Q3, all that sort of stuff, so that we can then talk about this data, because that's what the 25%, half the data, 75% of the data is, right? So let's find our median first. So we gotta mark stuff out till we get to the middle. It's already put in order, so that is kind of helpful here. But we're marking out till we get to the middle.
So like, we don't have to find anything now?
Nope, not unless it asks you to. So the middle I got was 139. So then to find Q1, you would do the median again with your top half of the data. So 132 is your Q1. And then we'll do Q3, so the median of the bottom half of the data. So since Q1 is at 132, and Q1 is just one chunk of your data, that's like 25% because it's split into 4 chunks. So a fourth of 100 is 25, right? So we could say 25% of the data is going to fall below 132. We could say that 50% of the data is going to be below what number? 139, because that's the middle. That's half, right? And then what if we wanted to talk about 75%? Would be below 143, our Q3 value, because that's been 3 chunks, so 75% of the data. So that's about all that we're going to say there. Okay, Lenny here. He's not in this class. I have him in third block. We're in second. That's okay. Alright, questions for that? Are we okay right now? Alright, so looking at number 7. So Emily works at a fitness center. She recorded the heart rates of some people immediately after the exercise. The data is shown below. What's the range of the middle 50% of the data? So if we're talking about the middle 50%, what do you think we need to find? Probably need to find the median. Okay, so let's do that real quick. Is this in order from least to greatest? No, so we need to rewrite that. I'm going to put it up top in there. So we'll have to do that first. We got 120, 128. So once you're in order from least to greatest, we can find the median. So where is that going to be? Where'd y'all find the median? Did you put the numbers in order from least to greatest?
Yeah.
136? Yeah? That okay? Did I skip something? Oh, I forgot a number somewhere. 1, 2,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10. Here and here, here and here. Here and here, here and here. Oh, between 132 and 136. Okay. So right in there is going to be our median. So 134. Is that okay? All right. I'm just going to write that in there. Kind of running out of room. So that's the middle. But it wants to know the range of the middle 50%. Have we found the middle 50% yet? What do you think that's referring to? Your quartiles, right? If we have between like Q1 and Q3, that would be 2 chunks, 50% in the middle. Yeah, so we need to find Q3 and Q1 as well. So we'll mark out till we find the middle here. So Q1 I got is 130. And then Q3 is going to be 140. So the middle 50% is just referring to your IQR. And how do you find IQR? Q3 minus Q1. And what did we find Q3 to be? 140. What did we find Q1 to be? 130. So 140 minus 130 gives you 10. Is that okay? So the range of the middle 50%, so your middle 2 chunks, that's your interquartile range, and that's just 10. Is that okay? Questions? All right, so Emily measured the heart rates of 2 more people. When these heart rates were added to the data set, the range increased. So explain what must be true of the 2 additional heart rates in order for the range to increase. What do you think? It had to be greater than 150, or what else? So they had to be bigger than 150 or smaller than, what was our smallest number already? 120. So if you have numbers outside of that, that's going to increase your range, right? So that would have to be what happened there. So it had to be greater than 150 because that was the biggest that we have right now, or smaller than 120 because that's the smallest that we have right now. And that's because the range increased. What if more data was included but nothing happened to the range? What would that mean? It already fall within those numbers that we have, so it would be less than 150 but greater than 120. Does that make any sense? So on your exam and stuff, they're going to ask you a bunch about like if data is added in, what's going to happen, or like comparing stuff. So we've got to start thinking about it like that. We're going to skip the last 2. We're not going to worry about those. And I'm going to have you go do 3, 4, and 5 now. Do we need to do any more together? Well, okay. All right. So number 5, it wants you to find the measure of variation by calculating the interquartile range. So can you just flat out find the IQR, or is there stuff that you have to find before that? Number 5 wants you to find your measure of variation by calculating the interquartile range. How do you find the interquartile range? So is there stuff that you have to find before you can know the interquartile range? Yes. So it doesn't flat out say find the median, find Q1, find Q3. But do you have to do all of those things before you can get what it's asking you for? Yes. So make sure that you do that. Is that okay?